I think I'm doing this math wrong.
The day dawned brightly. I was excited to begin this new project. I had drawn it all out, and it looked so beautiful, and I was so sure that it was going to be not only fairly simple, but also super fun and beautiful. So I sat myself down, and I got to work. Professionally, I went ahead and drafted out all the pieces, what I thought they were going to look like. I figured this would be made up of 3 pieces. The main bodice rectangle piece that would be smocked down, then the smaller sleeve piece, which would also be smocked, and the final piece would just be a nice big skirt piece. I was going to try and attempt to explain the shape of that, but tapered, vaguely bell-shaped, like that. That is the shape that it was. I went ahead and grabbed my fabric, struggled for a bit, but eventually got there. It's this really pretty, like, light periwinkle sheet. And then I proceeded to do something that I almost never do, which is try the technique out first to see how it was gonna work. So I measured out this test piece. I ended up cutting out a longer one because you need a lot of length for smocking, but this was the better visual. So just pretend like this is longer than it is, and then it will all make sense when I get back to my desk. So I needed to do this to figure out the math behind how much length I was going to need to make the dress, because, you know, as you gather it down, each of the little pleats is a certain amount of fabric, and so you have to kind of see how many pleats per inch you get. And so I went ahead and did like a little test thing so that I could get at least an inch worth, so that I could figure out the gauge. That's probably the word that I was trying to explain this whole time, is the gauge. I needed the gauge so that I could do the math and figure out how much fabric I would need to go all the way around. So that's what this process is. It's actually super satisfying when you get the pleats all nice like that. That was one of my favorite things about this, and I did not have a lot of favorite things about this, so that is saying something. Here is me measuring out the inch and then painstakingly counting how many pleats there are. Here's me attempting to do some math.
Okay, I've kind of figured out some things based off of my little smocking mock-up thing that I made. So there is 14 pleats per inch, but when it stretches, you can get the smocking to be at least double the width of when it's taut. So the finished smocking needs to be half the width of where it's gonna end up. I sound like I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I swear I'm just trying to phrase it right. This actually really helps me out because I have to figure it out for myself. It has to be 19 inches of 14 pleats. 19 inches times the 14 pleats per inch is 266 inches of fabric.
I had to cut out a lot of footage here of me just doing really bad rational skills.
It has to be, just drop the marker, okay.
Because the amount of fabric that I needed was gonna be more than the amount that I had. So I was trying to do all of this geometry to figure out like the least amount of fabric that I could do with the size of the pleats that I had, which is not the math that you see here. At about this point, I decided I might as well just go and do what I thought was right. So I went ahead and I cut out as much fabric as I thought that I needed. I did it all in one big rectangle instead of those original pieces that you saw, because that was basically all I could fit. So I thought I would make it easier on myself and make it one big piece that I could smock in 3 different places and create the shapes instead of trying to cut them out individually. It was very tough.
This is officially going to take forever. So.
If I thought those other dots were bad, that was nothing compared to this, but I soldiered on because I thought it would be worth it.
God.
I did not film the process of doing this on the actual dress, so I filmed myself doing it on the sleeves so that you could see it. I basically just ironed down a nice 1/4 inch rolled hem on all of the places that were unfinished, so that I could gather it and those edges would be neatly finished. So I sewed those down by machine because there was no way I was doing that entire length by hand. And then I went through the entire length and I marked out every 1/4 inch wherever I wanted the smocking across that whole like 200-inch length. And then I went through and I gathered all of that first so that I could pleat it down. And that took a long time. And then I could actually do the smocking. So once all the pleats were nicely lined up, which you actually kind of have to futz with them. This is a bad camera angle, but it's the one that I had. You have to kind of futz with them to make them lay nice, especially because the top does not want to fold nicely with the way that the hem was, but there's nothing I could do about that. Then I could go and smock them all, which is like, you know, the second or third time that you've gone around the length of fabric. Like, I am so tired of looking at these pleats, but it looks really cool when you just kind of have it set up like this, and it actually really is super satisfying to smock.
Okay, here's the deal. This doesn't look too horrible right now. The issue is this part. I did all of the smocking, and when you let it be normal, it completely just falls apart. Like, it has, oh, okay, that's someone. It has no like proper stretch to it, so that's not gonna work in terms of just letting the smocking take care of the shaping of this dress. But what I think I'm going to do to solve this problem, and which I have actually kind of started doing, is first of all, I went ahead and sewed a line of regular thread to just secure these pleats down normally. So I went through and I sewed it, and every 5 pleats I tied a knot so that it would be fairly strong, and it would just basically hold this together. So the whole front isn't going to stretch, but the back will. And originally I was like, oh, you know what I'll do is just I'll add more smocking layers, but I think what would be equally as smart is I'm gonna get some elastic thread that you would normally use for like shirring, and I'm gonna do basically what I did to the front, but with that elastic thread, so it's gonna have give, which takes away the whole point of the endless amount of smocking that I did to make this work. But I think it will function, and as long as it functions, I'm okay with that because it looks really cool. It looks a little bit weird on me because the proportions are a little bit different, but it would be a pretty dress, and it's got like a lot of length and a lot of body in this skirt. And once it has the sleeves on here, that'll be really, really cute. So I'm gonna go ahead and do what I did here and sew long. I'm not gonna knot it, obviously, and then that will make the back elastic. So the front will be static, I won't have to worry about it, and the back will be stretchy. And let's just hope that that works, because I have faith, but I am really not sure. Okay, I've got the elastic thread, and I've got the weird sleeves gathered, smocked down. So I'm gonna try the elastic on these first, and then I'll put it on the big dress, and then the only thing that's left to do is hem.
And so with that elastic, I did. It was fairly straightforward to work with. It was a little bit annoying, and it's definitely meant for like machine shirring, but if you get over the fact that half of it unravels as you sew, it really wasn't that bad, and in the grand scheme of things, it pretty much worked like it was supposed to. So here's me. It looks like pool floaties. I couldn't get over that.
Okay, kind of stretchy. This might just work. Okay, so here's where we're at. It's something. At least it's on and it stays on mostly. I think the problem is still partially that I put elastic in the back so that it like stretches, but I think it's still too stretchy. So I might go in and sew together some more of this so that it's tighter, like extend the anchoring stitches further back, so that it's a little bit tighter, and then it'll hopefully sit a little bit better and be a little bit cuter. I think the problem is just there's a little bit too much fabric happening, but also the sleeves are a complete fail in terms of design because they're meant to go up onto my shoulder, but they're really not long enough. So instead of trying desperately to make it work, I'm just pretending like they're meant to be off the shoulder. I know for a fact that this isn't something that I'm gonna love, but I want to finish it and at least like try. So I'm gonna give it another go and just deal with it being what it is.
So I got it all finished. Here it is. And while I put it on and I really don't like it, I feel like it looks like Cinderella pre-transformation, but there's always something you can do. And what I decided to do was just put other things on top of it so that it could shine a little bit, so that I didn't hate it. Because, I mean, when you put it like under all these little things, like it looks so cute with little poofy sleeve. Don't look at the back of it. Yeah, it's not good. But when you put it on with like other stuff, it can be really cool and really cute. So I think I just have to appreciate it for the like undergarment that it is. And you know, when all else fails and get a load of this guy, you know, I don't want to deal with that, I can always just wear something else. So I have come to terms with it. It will be fine.
This one was a toughie. I think I need to rename this series to Learning Life Lessons Through Extraneous Crafting, because I feel like I always get to the end of these projects and I have some like grander takeaway about life. Because this one would be, you're not always gonna like the things you make even if you put a lot of effort into it. Because I put a lot of like time specifically into doing this. It wasn't hard and it wasn't, I don't know, stressful, but it was a lot of time, and in the end it functions if you give it a little bit of love and kind of cover up the parts that don't really work, but it's definitely not what I was envisioning. But I am definitely a person who would rather try it a bunch of different ways and fail and do things wrong and learn that way than like sit down and try and like research my way to finding the proper way to do things. Like, I just kind of like the organicness. I like the natural progression of not knowing how to do something, trying it, failing, figuring out, oh, this works better for me, and bringing that into your next endeavor. So this one, I definitely learned a lot about the amount of fabric that you can have before it starts to look bad. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. At the end, in terms of like design, I think I lost this one. But I do think that I won a little bit in that I learned. I always do. And now if I need something that has like a really poofy skirt, like this will work. I can layer things on top of it. So she was a learning experience, and I am happy to have had it. So that's it for this summer sew it all. Stay tuned for the next one. I have a bunch more plans, so we'll see how many I can squeeze in to my summer break. So see you next time. Which is still a lot. The measurement. I would have so much fun editing this. Okay, this needs to be, oh. So maybe doesn't know how to use, okay, much half this is, okay. This, isn't that half of this? No. Okay. Ooh, and maybe it isn't right.